My name is Nazila Mariasari. On this opportunity, I would like to explain my understanding regarding discourse and pragmatics. Well, let me thank you. First of all, discourse and pragmatics are linguistic approaches that studies on the language relation to the contextual background. So, these two approaches uh, are similar because both studies the relation of context, text, and functions. And in terms of context, both of the approaches study the meaning of words in context, analyzing them with knowledge of the physical and social words, including the knowledge of the time, place in which the words are uttered or written. And the next thing they have in common is how they look at the use of language, text, and pieces of written discourse, focusing on how language is meaningful and unified for the users. And the quality of being meaningful and unified is in discourse is called coherence, and in pragmatic it's called as relevance. In discourse analysis, there's cohesion, in which about how words related to other within text, and there's relevance theory in pragmatics. It studies on how the assumption of relevance hold text together meaningfully. The last similarity between the discourse and pragmatics is they're both concerned with function. So whether it's a short-term or long-time purpose, the concern is still the same, the function. And in speech act theory, it is focused on the function of the utterance. It describes what are we intended to. In discourse, it's called as critical discourse analysis, that studies on the purpose of language through the ideological approach in the social context, and it reveals how discourse reflects and determines power structures. However, besides the similarities between both studies, there's a difference between the studies too. In discourse analysis through exchange structure, it discusses about how certain situations have fixed sequences and how what one speaker says can influence the next speaker response. So, there's also conversation analysis. It examines conversation structures, and the other studies is interactional sociolinguistic that combines a study of structure of conversation and the pragmatic approach. In pragmatic itself, the one that differs in it focus on the social principle of discourse. It takes sociocultural perspective on language usage, and the studies that discuss about this are speech act, cooperative principle, and the politeness principle. But despite the similarities and the differences between the two, between the discourse and pragmatic, we cannot put them in the same line with syntax and semantics because they are different. Syntax is the way that words related to each other, considering aspect outside the word itself. It is including grammar and doesn't consider to whom you are speaking to or where and why. Meanwhile, semantics is the study of what the words mean by themselves based on what is written in dictionary. So it doesn't consider the contextual background of the text itself. And the next is, let's talk about context. There are three types of context: situational context, background knowledge context, and co-textual context. Situational context is when what speaker knows about what they can see around them, and background knowledge context is what they know about each other and the world. It can be either cultural or interpersonal knowledge. And the last is co-textual context. It is what they know about what they have been saying, or in other words, the context of the text itself. And the last I will explain about speak act. According to Austin, when the speaker says something, she or he simultaneously does something. Then he made three distinctions of the differences of the utterance. They are locutionary act, illocutionary act, and perlocutionary act. Locutionary act refers to the performance of the utterance or the form of words used by the speaker and their semantic meaning. The locutionary act refers to the performance of an act saying something with intention in mind. So perlocutionary act it refers to the impact of the utterance. So what is the result of someone's utterance? That's called perlocutionary act. And however, speak act theory have limitation when we try to categorize them into several categories. They tend to overlap into several categories. So it's not constant between what kind of category this utterance is, because it can be in fall into several categories at the same time. And I think that's all for my explanation. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.